Good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gents, wieners alike. Welcome to the very first Sausage Fest podcast. I'm here with my my wonderful host, Mr. Scary Joker, Ben himself. He's
oh my goodness!
Spooky.
Wildcats in a theater, an abandoned theater.
Wildcat.
Oh my god.
Dear sweet Jesus.
Fucking rascals.
You know, I mean, it's wildlife, Ben, here in this abandoned theater.
True. In this abandoned theater.
There's a lot of light in this abandoned theater. Mostly because there's no roof.
Nah. It's just no roof. It's one of those cheap, like, one-story... Should we tell them where we are, or should we just leave it up to interpretation for the spookiness factor? We'll just leave it up to interpretation for the spookiness factor. Essentially, we're inside of a abandoned theater for the sake of a Halloween special. And this is also the very first podcast, and it's a Halloween special, so, you know, it's an interesting start, I'd say.
What a way to start it off. I mean, we're going strong with the one of the spookiest months of the year, right next to February.
The only spookiness about that is what single people do to entertain themselves and fill the void.
I'm fairly certain that there's going to be an edit worth a bunch of pictures of meat being beaten or pounded, like the
That's
Rock.
a YouTube... Cats!
The little rascals.
This is a podcast, Andy. What are we doing?
We're talking, which is the entirety of a podcast. Is just it's nothing but audio.
True.
You know, Ben. You know, it is also a great thing to talk about talking is movies. Let's talk about movies.
All right, movies.
It is Halloween after all, and we have to talk about all of our monsters, our movies, our mayhem, all of the stuff that's freaked us out this month, and all the stuff we're looking forward to upcoming in this year. You know, 2017 is coming to an end finally, so we have a lot to talk about. So Mr. Trumbull, you and I have talked quite a bit about it.
Yes. IT. My favorite indie show on Netflix. Oh, we have a nice sound sample now of the hallway, the spookiness of it. You can hear, like, you know, the vibrations and
They say
a little bit of an echo.
They say on a crisp October night you can hear the pitter patter of little feral domestic cats that haunt this very theater.
It's the cat theater, where they showed cats, and then a cat died in the theater. Now they're, oh my god, the cats!
Oh, man.
Cats everywhere.
Cats everywhere. Just a theater surrounded by cats.
But no, fuck IT. We need to get on topic.
Let's get on topic.
It the movie.
It the movie.
Where are you going? You look like a nice boy. I bet you have a lot of friends. I bet you have a lot of friends. I bet you have a lot of friends.
How did you feel about It the movie?
I've seen that movie.
Oh, God. Sorry.
It's okay. I've seen that movie 3 times now, officially, just to get a good grasp on it. I personally loved it. I think it was a very, very good remake. Definitely one of the better ones I've seen in my lifetime, which is... Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other really good remakes that I've seen so far. But then again, I'm still so ingrained in it that it's hard for me to think of something else that parallels it at the moment. What did you think, Mr.? What did you?
You know, I have my problems with it, like any movie. You know, no movie's perfect. And I do feel this movie is overhyped. That's what pretty much everybody is going on about it, like, oh, it's the scariest thing, oh my god, it's so crazy, but like, you know, I kind of found the first one, or the original, scarier.
You know, I can actually agree with that. I think that's a big misconception with it right now, is that everyone's just like, oh my god, it's so scary, and it is, in a lot of ways. It does have its really menacing, kind of horrifying moments, but it's like, by itself, it's not a scary movie.
No, it's not.
I didn't walk away from that movie feeling like I was like, oh, so creeped out, that none of it left me with a chill or a nightmare like it did. The first one definitely did. I mean, like Tim Curry being Pennywise, and just like some of the imagery, and with the budget that they initially had at the time, like it's really crazy to look back at it and be like, wow, this movie was just in general a lot scarier than this newer one. And I think that's because, you know, it it might have been also my age, and I was a lot younger at the time. There was a lot more that I was actually, I was terrified of a lot of things growing up.
Same.
So
same.
it's just like, Pennywise became a number one on the list very quickly.
Almost definitely.
But I don't know. I think yeah, like I do like the actors. I think a lot of this different scenes is really good. But I walked away feeling a little more like just like I got a really like a wholesale of the entirety. I didn't walk away feeling empty from from the new It movie, which it just, I don't know, it struck me, and like all the nice right chords.
Struck you?
It struck me.
You should have filed for assaults.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's not. I think that's definitely the bigger my biggest issue with it is that everyone is constantly just like, oh my god, it's so scary, it's so terrifying.
Oh my god, it's a clown!
It's a clown with razors, and like it's definitely, it sets a darker tone than its initial one.
It definitely does. It goes the extra mile. It actually shows, like, well, spoiler alert, the clown eats kids, and he creeps and scares out kids because they taste better.
Oh, yeah.
And he flops around their limbs like. And there's a particular scene where somebody's getting the shit beat out of him, and they're like, oh my god, and they look over and he sees a clown just sitting there having a little snack, and he's like, oh, hi Georgie, and he starts waving his arm around, and
just
not his arm, but like the kid's arm that he tore off.
He's like waving his arm at a character who's getting the snot beat out of him, just like he's like waving a severed bloody arm, and he's eating it. Clearly he stops like chewing on the fingers to like wave it at a kid, which
kids' fingers with some marinara sauce.
Exactly,
that's what was on his face, not blood. He doesn't use food raw, he deep fries it.
Exactly.
That's why he takes so long to kill the kids.
Exactly,
instead of killing them right away like a competent fucking killer would.
Yeah. It's he plays the long con on a lot of those kids, and I think it really does backfire on him, which is the end game. But
almost definitely,
I would say a lot of it does, like you said, it goes the extra mile. It shows you a little extra graphic imagery, but I think that's what I really liked about it, is that it wasn't like the newer remakes of like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, where a lot of it was kind of shock factor, like that horror value, where it's like, oh, we're just going to throw this outrageous looking amount of gore and like blood, and like this guy's getting dismembered or ripped open or whatever, and you can see all the organs falling out of him. Like, you don't really get to see that in this movie.
Yeah.
You see a lot more of like, I guess the bloodiest scene in that entire movie would be the bathroom scene, but that's nothing but blood.
Oh, bathrooms
and blood.
I mean, this is about people coming of age and maturing and stuff. Well, that's what the book was about, at least. It's about maturing and facing your fears and stuff.
Oh man,
but
that's a good thing to hit on as well. Like, what did you think like, have you read the initial book?
I did read the book. Fuck the book.
Yeah, that book.
It is so long.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
In a way, it's like kind of like how the characters forget about it. I forgot about the book, like details about it. And then upon seeing the movie, I was like, oh wait, this was in the book. And it's like, oh, I read the book. Oh. Oh no.
Oh, the book. The book is so, in comparison from movie to book, I definitely will say, a lot of the remake, it differs very strongly from this. Like, it takes
a lot more of a leeway.
Yeah, it's definitely the director trying to be more, I forgot how to pronounce this. It's like Muschietti or something like that. Andy Muschietti. Muschietti. We're gonna go with that.
Muschietti.
But yeah,
get in my Chevy. Let's make part 2 of it.
Oh man, I think the director definitely, he tried to make it his own thing, which by all means you should. I mean, if you're getting told like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you in charge of the remake of the It movie, it's like, well, you don't want to make the same movie. You want to kind of give it your own twist. You want to give it your own, like, je ne sais forte, Kevin.
Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi. There it is. I'm not cultured.
I'm not cultured either. I am very white. We have no culture.
Oh.
Yup.
Oh. But yeah, no, I definitely, I really enjoyed it for what it was. I liked it as a separation on its own kind of path type thing. I really enjoyed the cast in it. I think this casting, it was spot on.
Oh, definitely. Like, the acting was just so amazing, like, with the kids and stuff. I mean, the kids in the original, they were okay. Like, for the time, they were good. But, like, nowadays, like, with stuff like Stranger Things, just in general, the kid actors have greatly improved. I mean, not to say, there's still, like, we have, like, in terms of, like, quality of kid acting has improved. Like, these kids, like, they felt so professional and, like, so real.
Right.
Is the thing. And that's what this movie gets done, or does very well. It's, like, humanizing the kids and the characters and stuff. It, not so much. It is a bit more like, oh, it's a spooky monster. You can't really... Like, I feel in the original you had more of, it was scary, yes. It was a monster, but you still felt like it was a thing.
Right.
It existed beyond just haunting children, like...
Right.
It'd be kicking up, relaxing in the sewer, listening to, like, I don't know, people argue and, like, abuse. Because that happens, because it causes this evilness to come out in people, and children or adults to hate kids and act like kids and, rape their children. And spoiler alert.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not really real.
It's not really.
It's hinted.
Oh, it's hinted on with, like, they slather that hint all over you. From the get-go, the very first scene where they introduce that character in particular, and it's just, you get that unnerving sense. And I think, like you said, I think, yeah, they did capture that, where, like, a lot of the music, a lot of the sounds you heard, the interactions between the kids and the adults, the kids and the kids, the clown and the kids, like, all of it felt so real. And they do a really horrifying job of touching upon that, like, oh yeah, she's going home, and, like, the way her dad touches her hair and, like, all that stuff, and just the way he acts up to her, and they just hit you in the face, like, something's not right between these two. Like, clearly there wasn't to begin with, but
right.
In the first movie, that interaction between those two characters, she's being abused, which is more physical than anything else. It's like, oh, which parent didn't hit their kids in the 90s? Like, like, I got beaten to hell by my parents in the 90s. I grew up in 93, so it's like, I'm very understanding of, like, oh yeah, that happens. And, like, obviously it wasn't good by any means. Like,
I guess I was never, I guess spanking is abuse now, but like, that was just the norm.
Right.
Back then. I mean.
Well, I guess that also, I'm thinking of a different time period, because that movie came out in 1990, I think, right? 93, 95.
Yes, the one with Tim Curry that has, like, the movie, the kid portion takes place, like, in
the late 50s, I think, right?
Late 50s, yes.
50s or 60s.
And then the adult portion takes place in the 90s, because you have 30 years in between that. So I think it was actually, like, maybe the 60s, probably. But, like, this one takes place in, I don't remember when exactly, but it's in the 80s, and it's timed perfectly to take place, the adult portion, at least in the present of 2017. Mm-hmm. So, and how do you feel about the time change? Do you feel it's better, or do you feel like the 19 whatever earlier one would have been better?
For the modern day moviegoer, especially with this new generation coming up, I think the time change works really well, because a lot of the references that they made in the 1990s movie were based on, it was directed at an audience that had at least heard of or had some inkling and understanding of stuff that existed in the time period that the kids portion of the movie took place, that
right.
First part. Whereas with here, if we were to show a movie about the 1950s, like, they'd have an idea, but there's not a lot of connection. There's kind of like that dissonance between the two. And I think being able to show the stuff that they showed, and I really liked that the theater that they went to was showing Nightmare on Elm Street 5, because that's something that was coming out in that year and was showing in theaters. And then you even saw, like, because I don't think in the part one of the 90s movie they had, like, video games of any sort, or they didn't really show the arcades or something along those lines.
No, video games weren't even a thing back then.
Yeah, I don't think so. So,
here
like,
they are. You got, like, Street Fighter and
the fact that they were able to touch back on that, where it's like, one of the kids goes and he hangs up at the arcade all summer, like, that's really cool. I think a lot of the generation, they'll at least understand that was something you did. You didn't have an Xbox in your house. You went to an arcade and you played games all day. Or you went to a movie theater because it had an arcade, like, stuff like that.
Exactly.
At least I think it helps resonate with people. It helps strike more of those chords, and, like, that personification between you as a person, like, oh, I'm connecting with this character. I remember when you did that, like, which makes me feel really old, because I understand a lot of that stuff now,
I'm feeling pretty old too, because, like, people don't even know about arcades anymore. Like, if I were to talk with my younger cousins, they don't get the arcade thing.
Right.
Like, I can try and explain it to them. It's like a room with a bunch of video game systems you play on, but like you die and then you have to pay. I mean,
pay to play,
pay to play, which is the thing nowadays. But even back then, it was technically pay to play.
Yeah, it's
so
just
unless were rich and you had a Nintendo or a Atari or
right,
something else.
You lose.
But yeah, no, I think the time changes definitely. It helps play this movie a little better. I think that's why it makes it a little more enjoyable for a lot of people nowadays.
Definitely, yeah. Plus, you have like people who grew up in the 80s and stuff going back, taking their kids and showing them, yeah, this scared the shit out of me. Now you get to watch it.
Right.
So, and that kind of, took me off, is like seeing so many little kids seeing it. I know I'm kind of like getting off topic here and rambling, but it was weird to see like 13-year-olds and 10-year-olds watching this movie.
Right.
And it's like, in part it wasn't, this movie isn't as scary. A lot of what I feel is kind of ruined by the sound. The sound gives away too much of it, as the modern day horror movie usually does. Like, you don't have that quiet silence anymore. It's always in your face. Oh, look, it's a clown. He's dancing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Intense metal music. Stuff.
Very true, very true.
So,
I definitely agree. There wasn't a lot of orchestration and whatnot, and there wasn't a lot of just, I guess, composition when it came to music back in a lot of the older movies. Like, they had sounds here and there, but now it's all generated electronically. Like, you can have an entire orchestra worth of sound put into a computer now. So now a lot of movies, I guess they overdo it in a lot of cases where they just add too much effects and sounds,
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's with the whole CGI, or when CGI was going to be a huge thing. Everybody had to have it, even though it wasn't absolutely necessary. It was like, this is what people want. And in a way, I guess you could argue that the whole 80s setting was kind of that choice. I mean, it wasn't, I feel it was just done to like kind of connect better with audiences of today. But 80s 80s references, that nostalgia is what sells. We have stuff like Power Rangers, Stranger Things, which takes place in the 80s.
Yes.
Which are 70s, 80s, around that time period is super popular, that whole 80s thing, because those people are now at the age where that is nostalgic and they can spend huge amounts of money on that kind of stuff. They can spend their time binge watching Stranger Things and afford it.
Exactly. It's definitely become more of a marketing thing more than anything else, which is, it's as you get older, that's how
that's how stuff goes. It becomes more of like a marketing ploy. It's not as stylistic. I mean, like, stylistically wise, like stuff like Kung Fury,
Kung Fury,
that was stylistic with its whole 80s choice. It was making fun of the 80s. We're getting off topic here.
We are, but
it is a good movie. In terms of like the kids' relations and stuff, it's very strong. The clown himself, he's more intended for scares this time. He's not like, what's weird is that like the acting and everything was just so two-dimensional and cardboard in the original, but the clown was so much realer in that. Whereas in this one, he's not as real. He's more of like, a monster.
Very much.
I mean, he's a monster, but he's not,
He seems like it in the first one. Tim Curry is playing. He's playing Pennywise, which is almost like a separate persona in comparison to what it is as a whole. Like, he doesn't come off as that monster. He comes off as, like you said, he's more of like that almost palpable force. And you can tell, like, obviously in that first movie, he's doing like a lot of like the crazy supernatural stuff and all that stuff with the blood in the sink and the balloons everywhere, There's a lot of that stuff. But yeah, he feels so much more 3D somehow. And it's just, I think that's just might be the acting overall. That might just be how he's portrayed in the movie. The scenes that he has where he's talking directly to these people, like as kids, as adults, I don't know. It's something that you can touch on very easily. You can get more of a hint with that. Where Bill Skarsgård, he did a great job.
He did a very good job. With the whole lazy eye thing and the
man,
just the facial expressions in general was just unsettling looking at him.
That intro scene between him and Georgie was probably by far one of the most unnerving parts of that movie.
Almost,
for me.
I think that's like the best part.
It's just so pure, and the acting from Georgie, like I gotta give a hats off to that kid because that kid's like 6 years old.
Fuck yes.
Plays it perfectly. I'm sure he's actually a lot older, and he's probably is.
He's actually like 8.
Okay, good. Well, luckily enough, he's young enough to the point where he won't take offense to me thinking he's a lot younger.
I mean, I doubt he's gonna be listening to this.
Exactly. So. You know, it's. But you know, I have to give props to him because he just plays that innocent, sweet child, and like he's a cute kid. He really is. And I've always the scene in the first movie where like Georgie and him and Pennywise are interacting, it set something off in me, and I was so afraid to watch this movie because I was afraid I was going to retrogress back to that state of when I was a kid and just feel that like emotion that I did from watching a clown prey on a little kid like that. Anytime you have a monster meeting essentially this child who's just naive, he's innocent, he doesn't have anything to do with it, it always hits that chord with me.
You know, same. Like, I was so afraid of that.
Right. Now I'm
regressing back to that shaky mind state of like, oh, what's going on? This is a clown. I like clowns. Clowns are nice to kids. And then you start to learn more about the twisted world we live in and stuff, like reality-wise. And when people dressed up as clowns and killed people, especially in 2015, summer of 2015, when that shit was going on. Or 2016?
Yeah. 2015, 16, it's all, it's...
Was it a marketing ploy? All those deaths? I don't know. Or did anybody die in that clown thing?
I honestly don't know.
I'm sure somebody died.
Somebody died. It could have been related.
I think some pregnant lady actually died in Texas. Full clown thing. Like, there was a clown, and he, like, stabbed her in her pregnant area.
Oh.
And, yeah.
I do remember there was a death that was recently, that was linked together with a clown thing. That was like a woman went to was having a birthday. She went to answer her door. There's a clown that has like balloons and flowers and stuff like that. And she's just like, oh man, it's like supposed to be for her. And then the clown shot her in the head and killed her. And that's, that recently was actually it was a conclusion to that story because that happened, I think in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember. And yeah, recently they just figured out that like the husband or something like that, he was having an affair with this other woman, and this other woman was the one that had apparently shot her. So whether or not it was all a ploy to kill her, I don't know. They haven't discussed that, but it's like, but that's something that happened in reality.
That is fucked up.
It is extremely fucked up. Like you don't expect that to happen to you. I guarantee you that never runs through your mind, but that happened to somebody else, and that's terrifying.
That is very terrifying.
No, yeah, but maybe it was a marketing ploy.
It's been a marketing ploy since the 80s, since they wrapped on the Tim Curry thing and like, we gotta hype up the remake.
We gotta get...
And the remake has actually been in production for so long. Like, it was supposed to actually come out in 2015 with a different actor and a different clown, but different they scrapped directors.
Will Poulter was originally supposed to play Pennywise. And like, I was actually very... very shocked to hear that he was going to become Pennywise because I never saw Will Poulter in anything besides Meet the Millers and the Maze Runner, the very first one that came out.
Right.
So like I didn't really know if he was going to be able to play that horror role, and then I heard that they recast it all together, and I heard the original director left, or like they let him go, and then they brought
they let him go, and
Buscemi,
they have new screenplay, and then
and yeah, they just, like you said, it was in production for such a long time. So
it was. It's amazing it turned out even good. Yeah. So much stuff goes on like this production hell, and it just sucks, Like,
it was so much. And yeah, like the casting ended up being really great. Fun fact, Finn Wolfhard, which is another character that another actor we'll be touching on in a little bit. He actually was the only one out of, I think, all of them, or maybe two or three other characters or actors that were cast that was in, or he was cast as the first Richie, and then he was also cast when they let go of the director and they recast everybody.
Really?
Yep. He was there from the get-go. He was going to be Rich in the very first iteration of it that they were going to make, and then when they decided to re-scrap it and make this into what it is now, they had him again. So, yeah,
that's very cool.
Very cool, extremely.
I mean, lucky, because like I don't think anybody else really could have pulled off that role that well. Like, I don't know any like kid actors, you know?
Right. I don't know. I don't either. It's really sad too.
Like, the kids of Stranger Things, and that's it. And like these kids from it, that's about it.
Which
you know?
was like the only one I knew in that entire cast lineup was Finn Wolfhard. I didn't know anybody else. I walked into that movie and I just was like, wow, these kids are great. Like they should keep doing stuff. The kid
They definitely should. They're very talented.
Jack Dylan Grazer, who played Eddie, I think he was really good as that hypochondriac. And him and Richie back and forth. They had so many great lines. Wyatt Olaf, who played Stan, he played that. They all just did such a great job. Chosen Jacobs was great. Sophia Illis, I think her name is. Whoever played
some lady name.
Yeah, some lady name, and she was great. Like, I got to touch up on Bill because Bill's character, that stuttering guy, like everyone.
He pulled the stutter very well. Like didn't feel forced. It was
didn't.
natural.
So natural.
As opposed to like the original where he was just like every fucking time the script demands it, he was like
right.
So, I mean, not to offend our stuttering audience out there.
Oh no, of course, it's
the character was,
the character was portrayed,
forced.
It was very forced
TV movie. So
it happens.
It's natural. It's
very much so.
So,
but yeah, no. To kind of wrap up the whole It thing, it definitely was. I give it my 5 out of 5 just because it didn't scare me the way that I thought it was going to. It left me, like I said, I walked in that movie feeling like I was going to feel a certain way at the end of it, which was going to be that kind of like empty, I got a jump scare here and there, like something looked really gross on screen, etc. And I walked out feeling a lot more just like, wow, that was in general just a good movie.
It was a very good movie. It's one of those movies that we have not had in a while that just feels like a very whole experience. Like,
right.
How to describe it is like, it's like the Goonies meets, I don't know,
the Goonies,
some scary movie.
Yeah, add in any horror film where
any typical horror movie.
Any typical
like the Goonies meet that.
Yeah,
I mean, they kind of have some problems with characters and giving them enough screen time. Like
very
two characters at least. The Jewish kid and the only black character.
Yes.
They had problems kind of giving them enough screen time. They in fact disappear for a while as well in the movie, which is a big complaint by a lot of people, but I feel the TV movie kind of gave them a bit more time and kind of fleshed them out a bit more. In regard, both have their pros and cons. If anything, I could recommend both just for the experience alone.
Oh, definitely.
But, yeah, overall, I was okay with the movie. I'm worried about the sequel. Very worried about the sequel.
I am as well.
Like, there's so many ways it can go wrong, It's just...
If they don't... It comes back down to they have to have everything that they had in this first one. They have to do almost like, they don't have to do it twice as much, but they definitely have to make sure that it is at least on par with this one. The casting has to be good because you're casting a whole new set of people. They've already released that they're going to have the kids in the second movie.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, they're going to have the kids being like flashbacks and whatnot because they have to remember how they defeated it in the first place, and they're like the kids are going to be there in different scenes from like after I think after they defeat Pennywise the first time, and then like different areas where you don't really get to see them interacting with Pennywise for the most part, like different stuff that happens to them because like you never see that anything happen to Richie. You don't. Mike, you never have anything happen to him except for when he's getting the hell beat out of him with Bowers and. At the very beginning with the whole like
the bullies and stuff,
that stuff,
the slaughterhouse and the goats and
right. You never really get to see a lot of that type of stuff, or even with Stan, like all he does is he looks at a painting and like, which I do have a complaint about that. That painting was a little. I don't know. I feel like they could have explained a little more why he was freaked out by it.
They could, or why is that painting in a Jewish church?
Yeah, why is the face all messed up?
Is it like a Jewish?
Get on it, my Chevy. Like, explain us what's going on.
Chevy, take that painting and put it in your Chevy and explain the fuck out of it.
Exactly. We're so sued.
Yeah, we're probably sued. I don't care. I have no money.
We don't have anything of value
we're in
to
an abandoned theater at fucking what is it?
Well, I mean, if he sues us, Ben, he might take our mics.
Motherfucker, I will harpoon you with this mic stand.
Oh, that's going to look great on the audio later.
Fuckler.
Damn it. I laughed way too hard. Oh, man. Whoa.
There was a clown controversy as well. Speaking of clowns, I know we keep going on and on about it. This is our last thing, then we're going to move on. But clowns were very pissed off about this movie because they claimed it ruined their business. And it's like, you're ignoring the fact that this is a remake of a movie from the 90s, which has scarred children who are now adults for generations. There's a reason for your clown in business because of Stephen King and the book. Don't get mad at the movie, get mad at Stephen King. Well, I'm not saying you should get mad at Stephen King. It's a fictional work. Like, kids of today, like, you know, the kids who didn't see this movie, I'm sure they're probably not going to have that fear of clowns, and, you know, just people are going to be afraid of what they're afraid of, and if it's unfortunate that your business may include that, like, oh, I'm afraid of flying. You're not going to get on a fucking plane, you know?
You're going to walk or take a boat or a train or whatever
or a bus.
You're going to find a different way to get there. Yeah.
Like, riding the bus.
If I'm afraid of heights, I'm not going to go and take up a gymnastics class. I'm not going to go walk the tightrope. I'm not going to take the ropes course. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know?
No, it doesn't. Just as how, you know, you won't call a clown if you're afraid of clowns, which I actually was. And at some point, I guess I got over it. Because, like, you know,
really?
I wasn't afraid of clowns. Yes. Like, the original traumatized me so much, I was afraid of clowns. I guess it kind of like the Joker with Batman kind of helped me get over that. Okay. And also seeing it again when I was 14. That actually was what probably did it. Because, like, very late at night, I went on YouTube. I mean, you know, I had a copy of the movie. I didn't go on YouTube.
Yeah, pirating is bad.
There's no such thing as a victimless crime. Pirating is not a victimless crime. Can't even finish. That was a straight face.
We're going to jail.
We're going to hell.
That too. Preferably one before the other, but
preferably jail over hell.
Yeah.
You know, I if such a thing exists, I don't know what your religious beliefs are. I don't know what my religious beliefs are. I don't know what Andy's religious beliefs are. Are we even real?
Existential
Andy?
Crisis on the Sausage Fest podcast.
In an abandoned theater at 1 a.m. in a podcast with a bunch of stray cats. That one's giving me the eye. I see you.
I feel like we should have recorded a scene where it was us in the theater. We were talking about why we were here, and then you'd be like, "Yeah, why are any of us here?" You know, and then just go into an existential fucking thing, and then just no. I mean, why are we here in this theater right now?
Red versus Blue reference.
I'm glad you got that, Ben.
Of course. If you don't get that, you've never seen Red versus Blue. But if you have, you're disappointments. I'm sorry, not disappointments. You're probably Gabe or something.
Gabe.
Shout out to Gabe.
Yay.
Disappointments. Yeah. Anywho, on to our next subject, which is Stranger Things. Love that great transition there.
Let's get into some Stranger Things.
Essentially, if you liked It, you will like Stranger Things. If you like Stranger Things, you are definitely going to like It, because they all kind of draw in similar parallels. It's about children facing fears or facing things which are greatly out of their depth. Stranger Things is a bit more, you know, reality and adults in it and stuff. It's more like a realistic thing. It's definitely majorly inspired by Stephen King's works.
Oh, so much so. I had originally heard that the Duffer Brothers, who created Stranger Things, they wanted to direct it, and they wanted to be involved with it, but they didn't have enough under their belt, so the studio was like, no, we're not going to do that.
No, we'll just go with this other guy who's directed these okay horror films, and that was kind of a gamble, too. Whatever, we're not talking about it, we're talking about Stranger Things.
We're done with it now.
Cue the theme! That was a beautiful theme.
So spooky.
Oh my god, so spooky.
No, Stranger Things.
Such a good thing to watch if you want to get in the spooky.
If you don't know what Stranger Things is, have you been living under a rock this entire time? It's been out for over a year. Season 2's on its way. It's so good. Just just do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do Ben a favor. Just go out and watch Stranger Things. I think the first episode draws you in so quickly. If you're a fan of 80s horror, sci-fi, like web series type style things, it is just such a good show. It's such a good form of that. And it's everything you loved about stuff like Marble Hornets and what else was it?
E.T.
E.T. If you liked E.T., watch Stranger Things. There's so many
This is
different...
literally E.T. meets Goonies meets It.
It's so
meets
good.
Stephen King's brain.
Oh, it's such a good show, and it falls back into the same formula that we went over with It. Comes down to the premise, comes down to the execution, comes down to the cast members, their interactions with one another. Like, there's just so many there's so many good things that you want to just keep like enjoying about Stranger Things overall.
Definitely. Like, in terms of which is better, I feel it's kind of like difficult to really say between It and Stranger Things. I feel Stranger Things was a bit more focused in comparison to It.
Oh, very much
simply
so.
because they have a smaller cast. There isn't like some useless character. Everyone plays a major role, even though it may not seem like it. Like in the finale, technically the only people who really did anything in the finale who really contributed was Eleven, who is for those of you who don't know, which I don't know how you don't know, but is Eleven this character who has psychic abilities, who can do things and hurt people and lift stuff and tear people in half and stuff. She kills the monster, even though the teenagers really set out to kill the monster. They didn't really do that.
Yeah.
And the the mother who lost her son in this alternate reality. This monster took her.
The Upside Down.
The Upside Down. I want to call it the Flip Verse for some reason.
I mean, it sounds a little cooler, personally. But I guess that's also the Upside Down is what the kids are calling it. It's not actually what it would be considered or termed or whatever. I'm sure that in season 2 maybe we'll get like an actual term like what the scientists have been calling it this whole time.
It's called the Flip Verse.
If that pops up, I'm gonna have a couple questions for you, Ben, and I'm gonna have a lot of questions for the Duffer Brothers.
Sure. Yeah. If I was successful, oh my god. Duffer Brothers, if you do it, hey man, I got a lot more ideas. 11, let's put her in an Eggo commercial, and like, she's just, walking around, and this monster thing is like, Eggos! And she's like, Lego my Eggo. And then she's like, splatters him
just
against
with
the
her
wall,
mind.
like in Watchmen, with Rorschach, and
movies.
blue penises.
Blue penises.
Blue floppy dongs.
If you're not a fan of blue penises, have no fear. None of them show up in Stranger Things. Luckily enough.
As far as we know, there could be somewhere in the background.
Yeah,
some YouTube video pointed it out.
I'm sure somebody has just like,
Maybe
look
one
at
of the
that.
kids vomited out a blue penis.
Let's talk a little bit about that ending sequence real quick.
So essentially in the ending, spoiler alerts, this entire podcast we're going to be talking about spoilers. If you want to see if you want to watch Stranger Things or It before this, I highly recommend you do, before I talked about that to death. But Stranger Things, essentially what happens is that this child named Will, he's trapped in this alternate universe. There's this creature kidnapping people, taking them to this alternate universe, and feasting upon them in that world. For some reason, we don't know why, he just does. Or it does. I don't want to assume genders, of course.
Oh yeah, didn't want to do that in 2017.
No. But essentially, the sheriff character and his mother go into the universe through a government facility, which all this stuff originated from. That is where 11 is from, and that is where this creature first entered this world from. They enter that world to go save the son, and they do that, but the strange thing is that he has like this odd tentacle shoved down his throat. And after that, once they free him, and, 11 sacrificed herself to save her friends who are being confronted by the monster, he starts to have like these PTSD flashbacks to the, what are they calling it? I'm just going to call it the flip verse.
The Upside Down, but
The
yes.
Upside Down. He has like this brief flashback and he vomits a tentacle.
And actually, it's a slug.
A slug.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like a tentacle.
Well, because it's actually, they
had like spots and stuff on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks like a squid's arm, but alright. It could be a slug. I don't know.
Oh,
we don't really
it is,
know.
because if you remember, there's the episode right before it where they put 11 in the the bathtub.
Right.
She goes into the Upside Down to find Barb because they're first like, oh yeah, you need to find Barb and need to find Will. Which, by the way, Barb gets so much flack.
Barb gets fucked.
Yeah, they leave
Not
her
in a good way.
So for you, for any of you guys that have watched the show, obviously, you know, and anybody who's not planning on watching the show because, you know, you hate me, etc., and you just want to hear us talk about it and give you the synopsis, Barb is a character that is introduced. She's one of the friends of the older sister. She goes to this party. She gets a cut on her hand because she tries to shotgun a beer, and then her friend, the older sister, is like, oh, I'm going to go sleep with Joe Carey because he's so dreamy. And by the way, understandable. But Barb is like, you know, Barb is this character. She's just like, oh, this isn't you. And then she goes, sits by the pool because, you know, she's sad, obviously. Friends are growing apart. That's what happens. And she has the cut on her hand and she gets kidnapped by the monster. And then literally the very first scene of that next episode, it's her in the upside down version of where she is, and she gets attacked by the creature. The last thing you see her say, or hear her say, is she yells out her friend's name, and then that's it. And then that's episode 4, I think it is. Yeah, that's episode 4.
So there's only 8 episodes in this.
Yeah, it's like the halfway point. And then for the rest of the season, you literally hear about her maybe once or twice. They talk about her. The first kid that disappeared, he got like a search party, and they're just like, oh, you know.
He had, you know, got to see the parents crying. And, like, the mom doesn't even know she's gone until, like, her friend brings it up. She's like, you know, I haven't seen my only child in so many days. I should probably be concerned. You don't even see a missing poster for Beth.
No, not even slightly. Barb. Same.
Barb.
I feel like you're going to keep mixing up characters.
Yeah.
Between the two. They're so similar in a lot of good ways. But, yeah, no, you don't really see much about Barb after that. And, like, nobody really seems to care she's gone. And, like, Jimmy Fallon has killed that so much. Like, he's put out so many videos about how Barb is, like... Well, he's only put out 2 that I've seen so far, but like
I don't even. I just got into Stranger Things last week,
like,
Andy.
Oh yeah,
I was one of those people under the rock.
Oh man, I
heard about it, but like Dwayne Johnson was like, "Nah, just crawl back under me. It's okay. It's okay."
Better. Oh, I like your rock reference. No, I understandable. It's okay. I just got into Stranger Things maybe about, I want to say it was the halfway through September. I saw it.
Really?
Yep, because...
That's weird, because I just saw it last week, and that's, like, not even that big of a time gap.
Not that big of a time gap overall. Like, I was one of those people living under the rock. I had never had a chance to get into it, and
Same.
My girlfriend had actually went and saw it when it came out with a friend of hers, and she was just like, because I didn't at the time, I told you, I said at the beginning, I was really hesitant because there was a lot of scenes in there that, you know, it touched on I thought it was going to hit parts of me that I remembered from the first movie, and I was just like, I'm hesitant on whether or not I want to witness that in a theater. Like, I'm a bit of a bitch when it comes to that stuff. So I was very hesitant. She was like, oh yeah, it's really good. And I was just like, yeah, we need to watch Stranger Things. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll watch Stranger Things. And then turns out that I didn't realize Finn Wolfhard was in it. I didn't know that at all. So she was like, oh, it's it. And that's kind of what sparked this whole thing. So, yeah, no, I've only been a fan for about a month and a half, so I can't really blame anybody for not getting into it. But I'm one of those people that now that I've been converted, it's like I've seen the light, you know. I'm just gonna preach about it. That's what I'm gonna do. So.
I love that Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly. Loaded, the Stranger Things.
Loaded, October 27th.
October
27th.
But yeah, getting back on topic with the Barb thing.
Exactly.
We're so good at not
Barb.
talking about stuff that we want to talk about.
No, we're not.
With Barb, the whole Barb thing, when you find her body in episode 11, you see her where she's like, she's dead, obviously. And you see the slug actually crawl out of her mouth. Yeah, which is like, that's why I was just like, oh, it's a slug that he coughs up, because you know, which like, is it an Alien reference? Is that kind of like what it is? Because like in the episode 12, you find the sheriff and the mom find the egg, and he's like touches it, and it's definitely a callback to like the first Alien, where they're like looking at the hatched eggs and they're touching them and like, what is this strange thing? Like, what is this stranger thing?
Eggs? What?
Yeah. So like, it brings up a lot of questions because we don't really know much about the monster, which they call the Demogorgon in there, and we don't know why it's like it. They say it's more of an animal, if anything, that it just hunts because it's hungry.
Right.
But then why is Will? Like it's clearly at first you kind of think that it's seeking Will because it's trying to feed, or that it knows there's something there, but at the same time it takes him back to its nest in the library of the Upside Down area.
Well, we think it's its nest. We don't know if actually lay those eggs. Maybe it's like an alpha male thing, and like the female is like this giant fucking squid slug monster.
Yeah, that it's there's a lot that has to be explained still.
There's so much that needs to be explained.
Like you find him with the tendril down his throat. And then, man, it takes them, it was an uncomfortable amount of time for them to pull that tendril out of the fake Will. Like
it was just going out, just
like they kept tugging, and it's just like, wow. It's like when you pull those, like when the magician pulls the ropes of color out of his throat, much like that. But instead, it was a slimy.
It's a slimy tendril, probably a penis if you think about it.
Pretty much, because like he hacks up a slug. Like he coughs it up.
The same thing technically happened to Barb then, because she had the slug.
Which is the question of like, well, because the tendril had only been in Will for like the better part of maybe an episode, like maybe a little less than, because he gets captured at the end of 11. He does, or at the end of 7. I mean,
taken out of his fortress and dragged back there. It could be like an hour. It could be like 7 hours. Like it's actually probably like an hour, like 2 hours.
So like it's a real question of how long, because Barb was gone for like days,
and nobody
cared
except for her friend, who wasn't even that distraught about it when she was like, she's gone?
And she's just like, oh no.
And
then
I'm gonna have a love triangle with these two gentlemen.
Man, that was something. Man, we'll have to touch on that whole thing.
Fucking triangles.
Like, it's all about the triangles, baby. The best shape, structurally supportive. I mean, if you think about it, if you build a triangle out of anything, it can hold more weight overall, pressure-wise.
Yeah.
Fun fact for all you engineering, mechanical nerds out there. You already knew that.
All of you who are listening.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I think Gabe's an engineer. He'll understand.
I don't know Gabe.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, no, I think I think the whole thing with Barb, and then adding into the Will part with where he's like, oh yeah, he coughs up that slug, and it's kind of like has that flashback of the Upside Down. It kind of makes me think that maybe because he's got the slugs inside of him or whatever, because like, maybe there's more. Maybe this is something that we don't know how long it's been going on. We don't. He's been out of the Upside Down for a month at the end of the episode. Like when he does cough it up, it's Christmas time, and
he gets an Atari.
Right, he does get the Atari.
That's an important plot point.
Very important.
Gonna be up in season. I swear to God, if that actually is an important plot point,
man,
to hire me. God damn it.
Hire him.
I pointed it all out.
Yep, he's
either hire me or I'm going to spoil your entire show.
Turns out the Atari is actually the villain the whole time. That tentacle monster in the season 2 trailer.
It's really an Atari.
If you look really closely, it makes the Atari symbol with its tentacles.
Actually, it kind of does.
Oh.
Well, that mean like Blade Runner and like Stranger Things and like a crossover then, because like Atari's. We're getting off topic.
We are.
Like we were saying, though, Will is probably Preggers. Probably Preggers with, like, this slug monster thing. What I'm thinking is like, maybe it's like a... Because, like, they did the whole alien thing. What if it's, like, there's a queen and, like, those, like, monster things, like the pale white creatures. What are they called again? The...
Demogorgons?
Demigorgons. I'm just going to call them the Gorgonites, because why not?
Yeah, you might shout out to Small Soldiers.
It's not that great of a movie.
Nope.
But, the Gorgonites, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it is.
Or just, Like, what if they're like soldiers, like this ant queen thing?
You know, it's a possibility. Maybe the larva, maybe it's like the alien type of thing, because you know, like the face hugger is the one that produces that impregnates the host, and the host busts out with a chest buster. That is the alien. Alien lays the egg. That is the face hugger, and it just kind of like repeats itself. It's that symbiotic cycle of two different almost species. So maybe it's something, a callback to that. Maybe the Demogorgon is kind of like you said, like that soldierish creature that goes out, hunts, and brings back something. Then the tendrils are actually part of like the queen of the whatever it is, the hive, and then they
impregnate them, and then they make more
slugs, and that
demigorgons,
like
gorgonites.
Maybe this, well, because then the question is, where does the egg come into play? Because if the slugs are being put into into the hosts, then why is there an eggshell? What does the egg symbolize? Maybe the egg was what hatches the Demogorgon, but then the question is, well, why?
Right.
Ooh.
What if the eggs are like the queens?
Maybe.
And like...
That'd be something.
That'd be a very weird dynamic. Well, then again, I guess like, what is it? Fireflies, aren't like the female fireflies like, you know, like larva things, and like the males are like these happy, flying, beautiful, light things, and he says this like butt ugly female.
You know, that's a good question. I actually don't know, and I'm trying to look it up right now. And unfortunately, it just pulled up Fireflies by Owl City, and that's all I'm getting.
Gotta love the internet, and for some reason that song is popular in 2017.
That song came out in 2011, 2010.
Oh God, I'm old.
Like,
I remember hearing that in gym class and wanting to kill everything running to that.
Yeah, I hated that song too. All my friends really enjoyed it, and I was not a fan.
God, it's just ear grating. But back on topic with Stranger Things, it's like, man, it's so, like, in part, I hope this is going to be a thing where we actually learn about it and it's explained, and we're not just set up for like another mystery, and like it's this constant mystery thing, like with like X-Files, how it's this constant thing, like, and they never actually answer it. Or like with, what is it? Or like Lost, where they never answer anything. I hope we get like some sort of actual answer with this.
You're right.
You know? Like, that's my biggest concern, is this is, because like, it's going to evolve in like this constant, oh look, it's Stranger Things, but we're never going to answer the question. What is this? What's that? Why do nobody care about Barb?
That's the question I want answered.
Barb was really the main antagonist this entire time. She's going to make an appearance in season 2 as a queen.
That'd be really something if they like brought her back as like a zombie creature.
Like, her and Will become like these zombie hybrids between the Demigorgons,
Demigorgon, yeah.
Demigorgons and stuff. Like, they're going to become the Demigorgons, and like Barb has like these, like the Demigorgon Barb has like glasses on, like her hair and like her face and stuff, and like what's her face? The older sister's like, oh no, and like she dies.
Nice. Yeah,
something.
Like we're in for a really good season. Like it already.
I hope so.
Like the trailer already showed us. It takes place a year later.
A year?
Yeah, it's a Halloween of the next year, because the first one took place in November. Then this one, then it was Christmas at the end of the season. Then it takes place in Halloween of the next year, because one of the episodes is actually called the Pumpkin Patch, which they do show you a little bit in the season 2 trailer. You see the pumpkin patch with a bunch of rotten pumpkins, which part of me feels like is going to be something along the lines of that slug that we saw that Will hacked up, you know, because this is going on for a year at this point. Maybe he's hacking up more slugs. You got these creatures that are from the Upside Down being born in our world, or their world for the most part, the normal like universe, and then these creatures are starting to get out. Obviously, you see like the cave. One of the episodes is called The Cave, I think, as well, and you see like the cave where the sheriff goes into. You see him touching like trees, and where he's like pulling his hand off, and there's like the slime from the Upside Down there. So it really makes me think that we're going to see a lot of these creatures that are starting to spill forth from the Upside Down into our world. And you know, we've already seen in the trailer, you know, there's going to be a lot of callbacks to the stuff in the 80s. There, you know, the arcades. I guess the arcade, the guy who runs the arcade, like the manager, he's going to become a character that we're going to be seeing a little more. They're introducing a brand new character named Max, who's supposed to join the group. Yeah, she's a girl, and she's supposed to. Yeah,
that blonde
the
character.
blonde girl. Yeah, she's gonna be in there. She's gonna have an older brother who we see in the trailer. He's spitting like I think liquor into the air. He's got like a leather jacket and no shirt underneath.
Oh.
And a bandana. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. He's apparently supposed to be the main human antagonist in this one, because like Steve was supposed to be kind of like that in the first season for the most part. But actually, fun fact. Joe Carey, who plays Steve Harrington in Stranger Things, he originally was supposed to not get back together with Nancy at the end of the season.
I could see that.
Yeah, they would really set him up to be like that, like, oh yeah, fuck you, Will Byers, his brother, Jonathan, yeah.
Jonathan!
And like, he's like, oh yeah, fuck you, and then Jonathan beats the hell out of him, and I guess that was supposed to kind of like allude to that connection between Nancy and Jonathan, I guess. Where there was supposed to be like more of that friendship building, but then Steve was supposed to not come back into it altogether. But Joe Carey is such a likable guy in reality as a person. Like, he's just apparently such a sweetheart that the Duffer Brothers were like, we have to keep this guy in here. So they brought him back for the end episode. He makes up with Jonathan and all that stuff. And it's going to be interesting to see him be more of a character in season 2.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be he's going to play a bigger role. I think he's definitely going to be, unfortunately, fall into that love triangle-esque character. But like, he was there to kill the Demigorgon, or to fight the Demigorgon in the season finale. He's probably going to be.
And he did kick ass.
He did. That bat scene where he's like whipping it around like it's so cool.
Just decimated it.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't kill it, of course. That was 11,
we do see him wielding his trusty nail bat in season 2 trailer. He's walking through, I think, the pumpkin field at night with it, and like, it's gonna be cool. There's so much that's hinted in the trailer, and obviously, if you guys haven't already seen the trailer because you haven't seen the show, because you don't want to watch the show, and because you want us to talk about it, we do see that 11 is back. She's alive. She originally, you think that she's dead or gone or something like that, and they never truly. They never say that she's dead. They don't actually ever explain it. At the very end of season, what did you think about that with the sheriff leaving the Eggos?
The sheriff leaving like the Eggos in the thing, it's because like, they don't know if she's actually dead. They just know that, they fought the Gorgonite. It's not a Gorgonite, I'm confusing it, but she killed, or did she even kill the creature is the question, You don't actually know, but, yeah, she did. What am I doing? Yeah, she killed it.
Yeah, she disintegrated it with her mind. With her mind.
And then, but she's in the Flipverse.
Phoenix Force style.
Or the upside down.
The flip. You can call it whatever
I'm
you
using
want to.
my own vocab
It's
here.
okay. That's fine. People understand.
I hope they do.
We hope
I
so.
doubt anybody's going to get through like this point. Usually how this stuff goes is they watch like the first 5 minutes, like, oh yeah, and they leave. But like...
That's okay,
That's not okay. Stay for the entire thing. We will... Or don't. It's your choice. I'm not forcing you to do
is
whatever.
America. At least where some of you live. So you do you, and
you do you.
In the areas where the social media is banned, we're sorry.
I'm sorry, all of our North Korean viewers.
I really hope that doesn't show up on the mic, because I keep accidentally...
Oh, it will. I remember dealing with that when I used to have the little mic. But, what were we saying? She's been there for like a year, and like, I feel like how it's gonna happen is like, the main character, what's his name? The person who had like the love relationship with 11.
Oh, Mike.
Yes, I feel
Good
like
old
they're
Mike Wheeler.
like this new female character. Mike and her are gonna have like a thing, and then like 11's gonna come back, and it's gonna be awkward and weird, and it's gonna have all this confusion and stuff, and I kind of feel like that's what's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna have that love confusion thing,
right?
Or like, it's going to be a competition between 11 and this new girl.
Well, I guess
maybe?
Max is supposed to be, at least what has been unconfirmed leaks, is that Max is going to become more of a love interest towards Dustin and Lucas.
Really?
Going to create another love triangle, because we already didn't have enough of them.
Oh, man. You have a triangle in it, which is apparently connected to Stranger Things now. You have two triangles in Stranger Things, which forms the Triforce. What are you hinting at? Are we getting a Zelda Netflix show?
Netflix is going to make a Zelda show.
There was actually talks about that. There was talks about a Sony Sony Mario movie, but also there was apparently supposed to be a Zelda series back in the day created by the people who made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie of 2007. CGI one, all CGI. Like, they included a leak to the pilot in one of their things, yeah, but Nintendo was like, fuck no. So.
Huh. Well.
We're getting so off topic, it's
It
not
happens.
even funny.
It happens. I mean, we've already stretched this podcast out from, like, the hour, I think it is. Do we even have the timer going anymore?
Oh, boy.
All right, well, we'll wrap this up real quick then.
Timer. We're not going to wrap this up soon. We still have so much more to talk about. But, Season 2 predictions. Big thing is, I feel that Will is going to die, or he's going to go back to the Upside Down, because he cannot either live in the current universe, because he keeps giving birth to all these slug creatures, and, you know, he's being a slug whore, or he's going to be sacrifice himself to save his friends, or he's just going to die.
Yep.
I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a very short-lived thing, and then Max is going to kind of fill the role of Will, and
I think yeah, you're right. I think that might happen. They're probably going to kill off one of the characters, which is so unfortunate because everyone is so good. Obviously, you have to, like, all the kids are going to be safe for the most part, except for the possibility of Will. Like, they can't kill off Dustin or Lucas or Mike. And if it does happen, someone's going to take this clip of the podcast and put it up there, and it's going to be in big letters, Andy was wrong on the title. And it's just, you know, but, like, I feel like you can't kill off Finn Wolfhard. He's just he's the iconic character.
No, Mike is the main character.
Yeah.
He's, you know, you think of Stranger Things, like, oh, Mike, Toothless.
Exactly. Mike and Toothless and Midnight and, I forgot what they called Will. It's probably some derogatory term if memory serves.
I think they called him, I think it was...
Fairy?
Yes, they called him Fairy.
Fairy.
Because he was too in touch with his emotions, which...
Sensitive kid.
Yeah, sensitive. He's obviously a homosexual.
Yeah, something like that. Which
is ironic, because he's the one, you know, giving birth to slugs.
Ooh.
Is this what the homosexuals do to reproduce?
Slugs. We're offending people again.
We are. What else is new? Plot twist.
Oh, man.
It's not new.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I definitely can see something horrible happening with Will. I feel like the slug creatures, it might be part of the whole, like, flashback PTSD stuff. But at the same time, I feel like it also could just be that he spent so much time in the Upside Down, it's, like, become a part of him in a lot more of a way, you know? Like, he keeps flashing back and forth between the universes because, you know, who knows? Maybe it's like a BioShock Infinite thing. You take matter out of one universe and you put it into another one, but it still is somewhat exists in that universe for whatever reason. Then it exists in both universes, which is something that shouldn't happen, you know?
Yeah, I guess that would also happen to, like, Nancy as well, wouldn't it? Because she was there, and the sheriff and, you know, his mother.
Right.
Speaking of which, what do you think happened with the sheriff at the end, season 1?
Where he gets into that car, like, I don't know. Clearly nothing too terrible, unless he's, like, taking the brunt of it to protect everybody else from what's happening. But, like, he's still around. He's still the sheriff. He's clearly still got his job. He's a public figure. Oh, excuse me. He's definitely doing more of the... Like, he's somehow involved with 11 because he's specifically leaving food and Eggos in a box in the woods, which leads me to believe that maybe if you leave an inanimate object in certain areas of Hawkins, it will transfer over to the other realm in some way. Like someone can reach in and grab that out of, like, that space.
That technically is true because you know, in the Upside Down, you have, like, the pool and you have the kid's fortress, which is like a pile of inanimate objects. So technically, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Like, you'd leave something there. It's like people, for some reason, aren't. Neither are animals, hence why, you know, they have to tear through the universe and take the stuff in there.
Could have. Yeah. Now you're doing what I'm doing.
Now I'm hitting the pop filter.
Oh, yeah. I think that might be the case. Maybe it has something to do because, you know, everything is made of energy in a sense, like a slowed down form of energy is just matter. Maybe it's the fact that maybe that when you come to like a living organism, that matter is moving. It can't be really like locked down to one thing, whereas everything else in the Upside Down is an inanimate object. It's a set piece of like reality. So maybe if you take an inanimate object and move it from one place to another in the Upside Down, because like you can communicate through the lights.
Yeah,
based on
lights and
like it's all based around energy somehow. It's what it really comes down to, and like they do explain it. You know, you need a high amount of energy to rip through reality,
right?
You know, but at the same time, it also they just leave so many holes that are just
there's so much that needs to be answered. There's so much that needs clarification.
The real question I have to ask is, well, no, actually, I already have the answer to that one. I was gonna ask about the Hellhounds.
Hellhounds.
The abandoned theater.
Hellhounds.
Hellhounds in the abandoned theater. Ben, what was that?
I'm gonna go get like a bolt action rifle. I'll be right back. You keep our audience entertained.
So let me get this straight. Wait, so what you're telling me is that you had a bolt action rifle somewhere and you gave me a stick. Unbelievable.
Fucking dogs. Oh god. Oh god.
Yeah, right there.
No, I am not alright. But let's continue the podcast.
We will.
The dogs did not take kindly to the bolt action rifle, which is really a stick.
Oh, little rascals.
I say as I'm bleeding and have all these bite marks on my arms.
It's just a flesh wound.
Little rascals. You can still hear them. Just as I say that, they stop.
Nice.
Don't film in abandoned locations, kids. You have to deal with cats and dogs and rats and
I mean, I guess out of
junk.
all the things you could have to deal with, that's the lesser of all of them.
Like, you wouldn't think it'd be that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. You'd think, oh, you know, it's an abandoned parking lot. It's an abandoned theater. I don't see anything going on. But there's so many stray cats. It's like, it's sad. But like, they're just there and there's fucking, man. Like, you're making more cats which are going to starve. For those of you, I mean, nobody can really see this, but Mr. Andy's just jamming his finger into his fists.
I don't know if anyone can hear that.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, nice. So okay, I get you. I know how to read things.
Andy's really a sound engineer.
Yep.
What were we saying though before I went to go deal with the hellhounds and got attacked and
because there's a lot of holes things that need to be answered.
Holes.
Oh,
yes,
the holes that are currently being pounded by my finger.
The holes.
So talking about holes in particular, the portal, the gate between the two worlds that the 11 enacts because the monster opens it. There's that first initial portal that the guys at Hawkins, the lab, are going in and out of. They're able to walk in and out of it, and it's the only stationary one, which is weird because the monster creates other portals all around Hawkins. That's how it finds Will. That's how it finds Barb. That gets the deer at the in the episode where Nancy and Jonathan go to look for it, and it shows up in the school too. It can make a portal and rip through reality at will. Ha. Irony. But yeah, it can create this portal on its own, which it's very strange for a creature to have that type of ability. I guess in the Upside Down, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, but it's strange to be that, like, there's that one central portal where it first took place, where the communication was contact was first made, and then that's stationary. That's always open. Is it because they're keeping it open?
It's because 11 kind of like tore it open,
right? Is like, what happened now that the Demogorgon's gone? Is that portal still there? And they do kind of allude to it a little bit that the portal is open in the trailer because you got that scientist guy that's sitting there and all the controls are going haywire. Yeah. So it's like, I guess we're going to find out what exactly is happening at Hawkins at the end of this one, or in season 2. Because
what's going on with the Hawkins lab as well. I mean, I think like the government, maybe in response to the whole thing, like they're keeping Hawkins as like a testing ground, you know?
Right.
And like they're letting the sheriff know this is what's gonna happen. You're in charge of this. We're tasking you to deal with all the supernatural, stranger things.
Ooh.
Puns.
Puns.
But, you know, like I guess, you know, because the government has to be aware about this. They're the ones who are obviously allowing this, you know, for the sake of curiosity, for the sake of whatever. So perhaps everyone's confined to Hawkins now, you know, maybe.
They do show a scene in the trailer where there's a car that's leaving the Hawkins.
Really?
Yeah, it's leaving. I guess they did confirm that it's supposed to actually take place a little further outside of Hawkins, because in the trailer, the sheriff's even saying, like, there's stuff spreading outside of this town, which kind of, I think, alludes to, like, the Upside Down kind of contaminating more. Maybe.
Well, there goes my point.
You know, which, I mean, the government could be containing stuff for the most part, but I mean,
Tempting
obviously.
too, but I don't know. I'm not sure if the government even knows about it. You have to, because like the guys in black were there, you know, with the sheriff. We don't even know what they talked about. We don't even know where the sheriff went, because like a month passed. I don't know. Reagan's technically president at the time. Ronald Reagan knows. Wait, no, it wasn't Reagan, was it? It was Nixon, I think. I don't know my presidents, but essentially, yeah, we're kind of, you know, just talking about holes and all the holes there, and really a lot of it is, we're going to do a lot of this, like, predict stuff. Like, when Season 2 comes out, we're probably going to binge watch it, we're probably going to meet up again, and then we're going to talk about, Season 3, and Season 3, and, you know, what our predictions and thoughts are, and how we felt about Season 2.
Right.
And overall, you know, as you can tell, we're very ecstatic about Season 1, we're very hyped up for Season 2. Hopefully, it will live up to our expectations. Probably not some of the expectations out there, because a lot of people are probably super hyped for this, because, like, what did this come out? This came out in, like, summer of 2015, right? Or summer of 2016?
Did it? I thought it came out in 2016.
Summer of 2016 is when it came out, and it's been, like, about a year, so, you know, people are hyped for it. It's been more than a year. It's been a year and, like, 3 months.
Yep.
So, you know, that's a long time. I mean, I guess not for a show, you know, it's probably been longer for them, because they probably made it, like, you know, 2015 or whatever.
Right.
Off topic. It's coming out. We're excited, and we'll be talking about it in the future. Yeah. On another note, seeming as we are very close, or running low on time, hence all the blood exiting my body, as you can see.
Oh, yes. So much blood.
Yeah?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
You seem to be, losing a lot of blood. Can I give you a hand over there, Ben?
You're funny, because I have a hole in my hand. Asshole. Any other thoughts before we close out?
You know, if you haven't already seen it, go watch it. Highly recommend watching 1990 version, and then, what would you say? Would you recommend a newer viewer watching the 2017 and then going back and watching the 1990?
I'd recommend the 2017 first, and then the 1990 just for the sake of spoilers.
Yes. Also, yeah, because 1990 version, they do show the adult half of it, which is going to play a huge part into chapter 2 for the most part. It's probably going to go off at its own tangent, but like it does reveal a lot. Obviously, we talked about it here. So if you've made it this far, you already know Stan's going to die. We didn't talk about any of the other major deaths, though, which is good. You know, it's got to leave some to the imagination. I'm definitely going to be heartbroken to see that happen, but
it's going to be so sad.
Yeah, so obviously it's a Stephen King movie, book. It's not everyone's going to make it out alive, which is unfortunate. That's the best part of every story, is that some heroes have to be, you know, killed off. It's just part of how storytelling goes. If you haven't, go watch the 2017 one, watch it and kind of absorb it for what it is, take it as it is, as its own separate movie, and then watch the 1991 to kind of recap and see the differences overall. If you haven't read the book, you really don't need to. Obviously, you can check it out on Audible. I've been told that it's a little boring just because there's so much to it, and the guy who reads it is a little drony with his voice. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. If you haven't seen Stranger Things, go watch it. If you love 80s, if you love sci-fi, if you love horror, it's just, it mixes so much. There's so many, every single character that it touches on, they play such a huge part. And I think that's why I really love it the most, is because it has just, you're finding the story of the kids, you're hearing about what's going on with them, you jump over to the sheriff, everything that he's doing is important because he finds out new information that we as the viewers get to ingest, and then it touches even with like Nancy and Jonathan, they become their own like stuff, you know, with their stories, and it's just, it's so well done. And I think anybody who enjoys that type of anyone who watched The Thing, anyone who watched the E.T., anyone who's already seen it or is interested in seeing it, go watch the show. It's so good.
It's very good, yes. And on that note, I guess we're gonna wrap the podcast. Before I forget, I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing it here. Special shout out to Alyssa, the person who designed the YouTube thumbnail, and I think it's going to be the SoundCloud thumbnail. However, we're going to export this, we're not entirely sure yet.
Yeah.
But you can check out her DeviantArt in the description down below. And for those listening to this, it is going to be 200shadowfan at deviantart.com. And check that out. She's very talented, very excellent work, and we definitely appreciate it.
Oh yeah, very much. Thank you so much, Franklin.
Yep.
Franklin.
That was a podcast. I'm Ben. That's Andy.
Yep.
I'm gonna go bleed out in the car now while Andy drives me home. Bye!
I can't drive.
Oh.